Hi everyone, welcome to What Matters in Innovation. I'm Kaitlin Milliken from Innovation Leader. Today I'm joined by Alex Slawsby, CEO of Derisk, and Mark Silva, CEO of KITE. We're here to tell you about some news items that you might have missed and why they matter for innovators at large organizations. Mark, why don't you kick us off?
Well, thanks. I was thinking we could talk about Elon on SNL, or we could talk about the Facebook Oversight Board decision to continue Trump's ban. But there's actually some bigger news I want to talk about that's more closer home to the innovation folks, and it's about several acquisitions that the big tech companies are making right now. The aha on this is that it's not just a big incumbent company trying to get in the game by acquiring a startup. These are companies that are considered to be the greatest innovators of the day, that are moving fast, and they have a sense of urgency, and they're acquiring or partnering or buying companies mainly to unlock business growth and to solve business problems. And so the first one was Tesla buying a tiny startup's tech for cleaner batteries. It was something that Elon had promised to 2x the battery performance, and it was absolutely incumbent upon them to get the kind of technology that they acquired from a Canadian group, Spring Power International. Interesting super stealth acquisition. And then you may have also seen Twitter acquired Scroll, which is the kind of distraction-free reading service. And we're going to see a lot more of that in the space, where you'll see features or activities that are going to be acquired. These are companies that have massive, massive product teams. There's no doubt they could build this themselves, but looking to the outside to bring that into the company by either partnershiping or by acquiring or investing in these companies. So those are the two that I thought were demonstrative of innovators acting innovatively.
Definitely something to keep an eye on, all of those acquisitions. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing that news bit. Today, I want to talk a little bit about autonomous vehicles. We all are seeing more cars on the road as people return to commuting or taking those road trips we've all been putting out for the last year. But driving may look a little bit different by 2030. According to CNBC, Mary Barra, CEO of GM, announced this week that they're looking to have autonomous vehicles available for customers by the end of the decade. And that may not necessarily be through a one-time purchase where you now own a self-driving car. What this may look like is leasing or a subscription service, which is really interesting since that's a little bit of business model innovation, having multiple touch points with customers. On top of that, the way that they're approaching research is really interesting as well, where there's the longer research project called Cruise, which is aiming to build a completely autonomous self-driving car. And then there are projects that are aimed to improve those driver-assisted systems. That way there could be something that's a little bit more self-driving feeling that's available to customers sooner. So we'll have to keep an eye on that research and see how it's going, but it may be good news for people who want to own a car but don't necessarily want to be the one driving it. Alex, would you subscribe to a self-driving car?
I like the self-driving features. I'm not sure that I would subscribe or lease one. We'll have to see how those things turn out. I wanted to talk a little bit this week about SpaceX success. So on Wednesday, SpaceX launched its latest Starship prototype being the key word. It's a big spacecraft that SpaceX plans to use eventually for orbit and Moon and Mars missions. And since December, SpaceX has been experimenting. They've launched 4 Starships, and until now, each one has given us a really cool explosion because they've not turned out well, except to generate a lot of learning for the company. But on Wednesday, this 5th SpaceX Starship prototype got to an altitude of 6 miles. It did this cool belly flop maneuver and settled back down to Earth successfully, which was a really big success. And I thought this was really cool because space technology development, spacecraft development, we don't think of that as something you lean startup. But when you position it as prototypes and experiments that are going to fail, and then you just start doing it, you create a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of things you can do that, of course, NASA and the other space agencies never could do. They failed a lot, but only quietly. They didn't have the flexibility to try things like SpaceX does. So it's a real game changer. And I think it suggests that if build, measure, learn hasn't come to an industry out there, if it can do it in the space technology development space, it can do it in another industry. And so if you're not doing it as a company, probably your competition's going to do it soon. So you better get on the bandwagon.
Thanks so much, Alex and Mark, for those awesome news stories. I like how this became our transportation episodes from the street to the stars. 2 quick things before you log off for the week. One, Innovation Leader is hosting 2 really great webcasts in the month of May. Our first is on May 14th. It's only for our members. We'll be talking about how your team can scenario plan for the post-COVID world. Our second webcast is open to everyone. It's on May 26th. We'll be interviewing the authors of the book 2 Beats Ahead and talking about how innovators can learn from music legends like Beyonce and Jimi Hendrix. I also want to point you toward reports from our friends at KITE. That includes data and insights from their research and analysis team, as well as data and insights from their partners. You can find that at the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.